Hi, I'm Juliet. We're here at MadFest 2023. I'm here with Elizabeth Anyaegbuna today.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a little. I'm glad I'm in.
Yeah, it's chaos getting in. Oh my God,
yeah.
I think there's 1,000 people outside.
Totally.
So you are not only at 16x9, but also you do a lot of work with Bloom.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your role at Bloom and what Bloom does at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm the president of Bloom this year, and we are a women's network for Marcoms. So one of the biggest. Really all about sort of pushing that, need for equal treatment, men and women. So gender equality, but within that, everything that kind of comes into it. So it's not, well, it is that, but like I said, it's a support network as well for women.
And is there only women in Bloom, or are men in Bloom as well?
So it's women as far as the membership is concerned, but we 100% welcome men. And we have a program called The Exchange, which is a reverse mentoring program, particularly for men and women. Okay. Yeah, so we reverse mentor and we get senior men in the industry to be part of the program, because we can't be in an echo chamber talking to ourselves about ourselves. Yeah. We need our allies in the room, men with us, as we all sort of work towards an equal treatment for women.
Yeah. I often feel exactly as you say with the echo chamber, that like women know about the issues that women face in the industry, and we need men to know as well, basically.
Absolutely.
So can women in different stages of their career get involved, or how do people get involved with Bloom?
Right, so you need to be a mentor, and to be part of Bloom, the main Bloom, you need to have at least 7 years experience in the industry and above. So we have a mixture of that, 7 up to 20, 30, and anything in between. So we have sort of levels, I would say middle management, I guess, upwards, but we also have a mentee scheme, of course, and that is from a year up to 7 years, where they are part of the mix. So I guess it's a way, it's like a journey in, really.
So here at MadFest, one of the themes of the week, I feel, well, and last year as well, is all around conscious advertising.
Yeah.
So have you seen any great talks or seen any great initiatives platform this week that you'd like to point out?
Well, I was on a panel yesterday,
okay.
which did talk about responsible media and conscious advertising. The panel I was on was very much talking about the benefit and the need to, have a more diverse media mix in order to. I think we're still, in our media world, we're still caught up in a, more traditional approach to planning and buying, and then, pushing it out there, which tends to be making it as efficient as possible. And that means then mass. And if it means mass, that means you maybe then missing out on this more, a diverse certain group of people, but the more marginalized groups or underrepresented groups that tend to get missed off a plan as a result, because of the way things are bought and planned.
But also, when everybody wants mass reach, it feels counterproductive to then say, but I'm going to exclude swathes of the population. That is mass reach, is reaching everybody.
Absolutely. I think what it is we get a little bit caught up in boxes. So we talked about this earlier. We get caught up in putting things in boxes. So when we're now talking, we're now talking about diverse media, it somehow feels like it's a separate section to the main media, when it isn't. We're just people, and you're basically saying you want to diversify how you're targeting, to ensure that you're representative of the people you're targeting ultimately.
Yeah.
But by putting those in boxes, and we do that with everything. We talk about 16-24s, we talk about 16-34s, but your 50 plus has the disposable income.
Yeah. Really? Everybody's obsessed with reaching Gen Alpha and Gen Z.
Yeah, which is wonderful. Of course, influencers, all that they play 100% play a part, but not to the detriment of the people who actually, have the money to be able to buy these things.
It's not like you suddenly turn 35 and then you have a whole other perspective on the world, and suddenly you switch from watching YouTube to watching traditional media.
Exactly. And besides, a 50-year-old or 45-year-old or 40-year-old does watch YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's just this whole kind of box, putting things in boxes, and that applies to a lot of things. I mean, it's slightly left field, but it's even to do with hair. Say, for example, that us as black women, we spend an awful lot on hair. We do. And there's a stat out there, and don't quote me, but something a minimum of three times more than our white counterpart on our hair. And we call it Afro hair. Why do we call it Afro hair? Hair's hair. Whether it's tight, curly, long or straight, whatever. But by putting it in the box, we are sort of, pushing it as a side, as if it's a different thing to the norm, which it isn't. It is what it is.
Are there any, in your work through Bloom or with 16x9, are there any initiatives or brands that you've seen who you think are tackling conscious advertising head on and doing it well?
Yeah, I mean, so Unilever, I know are I would say tackling it. I mean, there's still a lot to do. With any of these brands, Nike, Dove, of course, particularly with the whole sort of thing around, image. Channel 4 with the Back to Black, programming that they did last year. Although it would be nice to actually see that all year, where it was all about, black, programming, sort of front and behind, producers, presenters, and so on, advertisers, etc., where they're kind of tackling the need to be more representative, more diverse in front and behind the camera, and also within their company. So I would say that for their advertising. But with anything, if you have a company that is more diverse in the room, then naturally they're going to be thinking about the media plan, about sort of other things. They'll be a bit more tapped into those sort of areas. There's more of a more authentic story that kind of comes out of it because you've got people in the room. And we know brands have obviously got it wrong because they haven't done it.
Exactly. It's so obvious when there hasn't been representation in the room. Whether that's women, people of color, it's so clear on screen when there's been nobody in the room to help put something together.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I always think with the Dove example that you said, remember that Dove ad that had, it was revolutionary at the time to have, women with different bodies.
Normal size.
Yeah. And it was so revolutionary. And now it's almost jarring, I think, when you see an ad that doesn't have different colors and body shapes represented across it. There's one particular perfume ad that I always think about that I saw recently on TV where I was like, everyone is skinny and white.
Yes.
And that's more jarring to see now, I think.
But I mean, the good thing with that though is the fact that we are becoming more present, I suppose, and more curious and just stopping, as opposed to not really paying attention. It was nothing to do with us. So a bit more present and just a bit more mindful. So I guess if anything, that is happening. And one thing I would say about the generations sort of been coming up, they're not forgiving all that. They very much want that and need that. It doesn't matter which group they fall into, or anything like that. It's very much, being conscious, being climate conscious, being mindful of the sort of where you place your ads around potentially misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, racism, what is your brand representative of? Is it, representative of the people? LGBTQ plus, and I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
I do, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about 16x9. What kind of work are you guys doing there?
Yeah, so it's a media agency, which I'm a co-founder of, and we do screen-based media, so TV, video, AV, and basically audio, video, so TV, video, digital, outdoor, and so on. And it's very much sort of strategizing, planning, buying, and we produce. So what we don't do is just have a, I suppose, automated approach to things. We're very much about, the context, sort of very passionate about the creative, so we don't get lost in that, as well as what we need, who we need to target, how we need to target them, and what the best mix of the plan is, including considering diverse media in the mix.
And how is that embraced by clients, particularly around diverse media?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of me being a black woman is that I'm very obviously, in that space, and I think the thing is, most of the time, there's, you recommend and they take your expertise and what you're recommending. You do have some sort of, pushback sometimes, or I guess maybe a naivety or a lack of knowledge, where there is a presumption, say, that if I am in a remote, place in the UK, that is, I don't know, 98% white, then why would I have a more, diverse group of people? And so to have to educate on that it's not purely about that, it's about what your brand is actually saying. It's not purely about who you're targeting, of course, but unless you plan on just staying in a one little place and not expanding, then you need to make sure that you are embracing values, and those need to be the values. Plus, you need to grow your business, and how are you going to grow it?
Exactly.
If you're then so targeted. So there is that bit of an education piece there, where it's not purely about just representation, i.e., these different people are representation. It's what your brand is saying about you, your values, by, doing all these sorts of things. And that's the message that needs to come across.
Yeah. I feel like there's often that old trope of like, the marketing director's partner needs to see the 6 sheet on their drive to work.
Well, that's exactly right, which sadly does still exist, but yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So do you think we've seen a shift in the last couple of years in diverse media and responsible advertising, or do you think it's kind of stagnating?
I do. There's more talk, and there are companies out there who are particularly very targeted in that space. Brand Advance, obviously GARM, and Conscious Advertising Network, who have a lot of brands on who are signing up to get it right, whether it's climate, like I said, hate speech, disinformation, having a racism, children's well-being, all that. Where is your brand landing when you are planning your media? There's a lot of talk around that, and some people are beginning to do the work. It's complicated, but I think there's a shift. There's a lot of work to do still, but there's certainly a shift in the right direction. I think it's a journey.
We talk about this a lot, that it's cross-competitor too, so it feels as though as long as everybody is sort of pulling in the right direction,
yes.
Nobody needs to win at it. It's not something that somebody's going to say, we've got it right, but as long as everybody is pulling in the same direction,
yes.
Hopefully it gets better.
May, not have it all right, or, might even get it wrong. But I think it's about sticking a hand up and going, right, okay, we didn't quite get that right, we know we need to fix this. I think it's about doing it authentically. We need to do it properly. Not a tick box, like, I need to be green, so I'm going to Joe and just, plant some trees somewhere. But everything about what you've still got fossil fuel going on, and I think it's about being authentic and actually doing it properly.
And from the core of the business, from the top down,
yes, exactly
not
right.
just a tick box on the side, as we said.
And that your company is representative as well. You need them in the room. Yeah. So, I mean, whether brands like it or not, we kind of have to get on and get on with it. It has to happen, because the next generation is not going to forgive it any other way. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today, Elizabeth.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the day at MapFest.
It's brilliant. Cheers. Thanks very much.